Once again, good evening to you. I was with you shortly, about 1 hour and a half or 2 hours ago, with the with an issue of the AI breach report. It came out today. The AI breach report for Wednesday and Friday, week ending 27th, sorry, of June. And I did issue out a video yesterday for the a summary of the weekly intelligence brief from Monday to Friday, ending 27th June. I've issued the AI breach report, Wednesday and Friday edition. And now this is the issues of the day, weekend intelligence brief, which came out yesterday in the newsletter. The newsletter came out yesterday, early enough, not on Sunday like last weekend. And I'm here to close the chapter, to give you a visual representation of what was printed on paper for those who have missed the printed version and would like to know what was in it and would like to be enlightened so they can proceed more more wisdom about how to tackle the perils of the workday environment and the problems that come about with AI security interrelated with cyber security and business intelligence. So this is the issues of the day, the weekend intelligence brief from Frederick Cybersecurity. I'm Frederick Wakuliaka, founder of Frederick Cybersecurity, protecting medium enterprises in financial services, professional services, and healthcare. Those are my main priority people whom I try to look after. This is your strategic business intelligence for the weekend of the 28th and 29th of June 2026. This is not a cybersecurity incident briefing. This is the publication where we step back from the week's technical noise and look at the regulatory changes, the economic conditions, and the policy developments that will shape how you run your organization over the months and years ahead. So this publication, the weekend issue, is nothing to do with the cybersecurity incidents or briefings. It is the it is a publication where we step back from the technical noise and look at regulatory changes, the economic conditions, and the policy developments. Three major stories this weekend: employment law obligations that are already in motion, a Bank of England decision that tells you more about where the economy is heading than the headline rate suggests, and the European technology policy package that every UK business with any European exposure needs to understand before the end of this quarter. If you are watching on YouTube, please subscribe. The full written edition is on LinkedIn. Go to LinkedIn for links and access the printed copy. So let us begin. Story one: the Employment Rights Act 2025 phased implementation. For those who do not know, let me enlighten you. The Employment Rights Act 2025 is not a future concern. It is already in motion. And for medium enterprises, businesses with between 50 and 200 employees, the phased implementation timeline means that if you have not begun preparing, you are already behind. This is the most significant change to UK employment law, the Employment Rights Act 2025 amendments. The most important, the most significant change to UK employment law in a generation. It reshapes the relationship between employers and workers across a range of areas that touch the daily operational reality of running a business. Unfair dismissal protections, flexible working rights, 0 hours contract obligations, trade union access, collective redundancy rules, each of these areas is being reformed, and the reforms are arriving in waves, not all at once, but on a rolling timetable that requires you to be paying attention continuously, not just once. So if you bother to watch what I put out, this would be of benefit to those who regularly look out for my videos and my if you miss my newsletters, you look at my videos, you know what is going on. Those who want, I'm not forcing anyone, but I provide this for those who watch and are eager and who subscribe. You will not be left wanting, because I provide whatever you need in this field. So for medium enterprises, the practical danger is not that you are unaware of the act. Most senior leaders and HR functions know it exists. The danger is underestimating the operational change required to comply with it. The Employment Rights Act is not a paperwork exercise. It requires changes to how you recruit, how you manage people day to day, how you handle grievances, how you communicate about flexible working requests, and how you approach any situation that might result in a dismissal. Let me give you the clearest lens through which to view this. Under the Act, the qualifying period for unfair dismissal protection is being abolished. Currently, an employee needs 2 years of continuous employment before they can bring an unfair dismissal claim. That threshold is going. Once this provision comes into force, day one employees will have the same unfair dismissal protections as long-serving staff. Ignore this at your peril. I'm giving you the information. What does that mean for your organization in practice? It means every hiring decision becomes a higher stakes decision. It means your probationary processes, your documentation of performance concerns, and your management of early stage employment relationships all need to be robust from the very first day of employment, not from the point at which the 2-year threshold previously made legal exposure a live concern. The 0 hours contract changes are equally significant for businesses in sectors that rely on flexible staffing, hospitality, healthcare support services, retail events. The Act introduces a right for workers on 0 hours contracts to be offered guaranteed hours if they have worked a regular pattern over a defined reference period. This does not mean 0 hours arrangements are prohibited. It means they are being regulated in a way that creates new obligations and new potential liabilities if those obligations are not met. On flexible working, the right to request flexible working from day one of employment has already come into force. What is changing further under the Act is the grounds on which employers can refuse such requests. Employers, the existing list of permissible business reasons for refusal remains, but the bar for demonstrating that a refusal is reasonable is rising. If your managers are making flexible working decisions without proper documentation and a clear business justification, you are accumulating tribunal risk with every refusal. Employment tribunals, you know what they look for. So my advice to the boards, listen carefully. The board level action here is straightforward. Commission a gap analysis of your current employment policies and practices against the full scope of the Employment Rights Act 2025, including the provisions not yet in force. Understand which obligations are already live and which are incoming. Brief your HR function and your line managers not just on the rules, but on the behavioral and process changes required to comply with them, and build the phased implementation timeline into your operational planning for the rest of 2026 and into 2027. This act will generate employment tribunal claims. The question is whether those claims will involve your organization. Story 2 that came out yesterday in the business intelligence brief issues of the day, weekend edition. The Bank of England rate hold at 3.75%. What the vote split tells you. The Bank of England held interest rates at 3.75% at its June 2026 Monetary Policy Committee meeting. The headline decision was widely expected, but the details beneath the headline carry information that is directly relevant to how you plan your business over the next 2 quarters. Rate decisions are not binary signals. The vote split on the Monetary Policy Committee tells you something important about the balance of opinion inside the institution that sets the cost of borrowing for the entire United Kingdom economy, and the context in which this particular hold was taken, specifically the energy price pressure created by the UK-Iran conflict. Created by the US-Iran conflict, not UK-Iran conflict. The energy price pressure created by this conflict tells you something about the economic conditions your business is navigating. The committee voted to hold, but within that vote, there were members who argued for a cut and members who argued that the conditions did not yet justify one. That split matters because it tells you that the path to lower rates is not linear and not guaranteed. The bank is weighing a labor market that remains tighter than it expected at this point in the cycle, against the inflation that is still not comfortably inside the 2% target in a sustained way. The United States-Iran conflict has introduced an energy price shock that complicates the picture significantly. Energy costs are an input into almost every business operation, directly through utility bills and indirectly through the supply chain costs of goods and services that are themselves energy intensive to produce or transport. When energy prices rise sharply due to geopolitical events, inflation does not come down as quickly as the models predict. This is not the case. That gives the bank less room to cut even when domestic demand is softening. For your business, the 3.75% hold means several things worth building into your planning. First, if you carry variable rate debt, whether that is a business loan, a revolving credit facility, or a commercial mortgage, the cost of that debt is not falling quickly. Model your cash flow scenarios on rates remaining at or near current levels for the rest of 2026. That's my advice to you. A rate cut before the end of the year is possible, but not certain, and the vote split suggests the bank will want to see sustained progress on inflation before moving. Second, your customers are also operating under the same borrowing cost conditions. In financial services and professional services, 2 of the sectors Frederick Cybersecurity primarily serves. Client decision-making on discretionary spend remains cautious when rates are elevated. Budget cycles for 2027 are beginning to be shaped now. If your clients are deferring investment decisions, the rate environment is part of why. That is the explanation I can give to you, free of charge. Third, the energy cost dynamic is not going to resolve quickly. Geopolitical conflicts do not resolve on a schedule that aligns with quarterly business planning. The US-Iran situation has introduced structural uncertainty into energy markets that will persist for as long as the conflict remains unresolved. Your energy procurement strategy, your hedging position, if you have one, if you are a hedge fund or you are hedging bets on a hedge fund, you and your exposure to energy intensive supply chain partners all warrant a review in the current environment. The board decision on the back of this rare decision is not simply whether rates will come down and when, it is whether your business is structured to remain resilient if they do not come down meaningfully until 2027. That is the scenario worth stress testing now. Stress test on this. It's free advice I'm giving you. I'm not even charging a consultancy fee for this. I charge other people this consultancy fee when they come to me, but I'm giving it to you free. So, story 3, the EU Tech Sovereignty Package, Cloud and Development Act. The European Union has moved decisively this week on technology sovereignty. The Cloud and AI Development Act, the centerpiece of the EU Tech Sovereignty Package, represents the most significant intervention in European technology infrastructure since the General Data Protection Regulation. And for UK businesses with any European exposure, whether through clients, supply chains, data flows, or subsidiary operations, the implications begin now. Let me explain what this package is and why it matters before we get to the business impact. The EU Tech Sovereignty Package is a direct response to the degree to which European governments, businesses, and citizens have become dependent on non-European technology infrastructure. Cloud computing in Europe is dominated by American hyperscalers, Amazon Web Services, Microsoft Azure, Google Cloud, artificial intelligence development in Europe is largely dependent on models, compute infrastructure, and platforms built and controlled outside the European Union. The EU has decided that this dependency creates an acceptable strategic risk, and the Cloud and AI Development Act is its legislative answer to these problems. The Act has several major components. First, it establishes sovereignty requirements for certain categories of data processed within the EU. Public sector data, health data, financial data, and data classified as critical infrastructure will progressively be required to be stored and processed on infrastructure that meets new European sovereignty standards. Those standards include requirements around where the infrastructure is physically located, who controls it legally, and what access foreign governments can compel. Second, the Act creates a new certification framework for AI systems used in regulated sectors across the EU. If you sell a product or service that incorporates artificial intelligence to a European client in financial services, healthcare, or professional services, that product will eventually need to meet EU AI certification requirements that go beyond what is currently required under the existing AI Act. The timeline for full implementation runs through 2028, but the certification process for many categories of AI system will need to begin well before the compliance deadline. So mark this. Third, and this is the element most immediately relevant to UK businesses, the Act establishes new requirements for data transfer and technology service provision that flow from the EU to third countries. The United Kingdom post-Brexit is a third country. The adequacy arrangement that currently enables relatively frictionless data flows between the UK and EU is not guaranteed to survive unchanged if UK technology sovereignty standards diverge significantly from the new EU framework. For your organization, the questions this raises depend on your European exposure. If you have European clients, you need to understand whether your technical stack, including your cloud infrastructure, your AI tools, and your data processing requirements, will continue to meet the requirements your clients face under EU law. Your clients' compliance obligations flow upstream to their suppliers. If you process data on behalf of a European financial services firm, their sovereignty requirements become your operational requirements. If you are considering expanding into European markets, the technology sovereignty requirements under this package need to be built into your market entry planning from the outset. Retrofitting compliance onto a technology infrastructure that was not designed for it is significantly more expensive and disruptive than building it in from the beginning. If you use United States headquartered cloud providers for your core organizations, and you handle data that crosses the UK-EU boundary, you need to begin mapping that data flow now and assessing whether your current arrangements will remain compliant as the EU tech sovereignty package takes effect. The board action here is to commission a European technology dependency review. Map every point at which your operations touch European data, European clients, or European regulatory requirements. Assess your current technology stack against the direction of travel in the EU tech sovereignty package and engage with your legal advisors on the adequacy arrangement risk. Because if that arrangement is modified or withdrawn, the operational impact on businesses with European data flows will be significant and will arrive with little warning. Three board level imperatives. 1. The Employment Rates Act 2025 is already in motion. The abolition of the 2-year qualifying period for unfair dismissal protection changes the risk profile of every employment decision you make from the point it comes into force. Commission a gap analysis now. Brief your managers now. Do not wait for the next phase of implementation to begin preparing for it. That's my advice to you for free. I'm not charging my usual consultancy fee retainer, which is considerable, and people pay for it. 2. The Bank of England held at 3.75%, and the vote split tells you that meaningful rate cuts are not imminent. Model your cash flow and your client pipeline on rates remaining elevated through 2026. Review your energy cost exposure given the US-Iran conflict dynamic. It's a US-Iran conflict dynamic. So, stress test your resilience for a scenario in which significant relief does not arrive until 2027. 3. The EU tech sovereignty package is the most consequential European technology policy development since General Data Protection Regulations, GDPR. If your business has any European exposure, clients, data flows, supply chain, operations, you need to understand what this package requires and begin the work of assessing your position against it. The compliance timelines run to 2028, but the decisions that will determine whether you are compliant in 2028 need to be made in 2026. Right now, right here. Strategic intelligence is only valuable if it informs decisions. The organizations that read this briefing, listen to this briefing, watch this briefing, and act on it will be better positioned than those that read and file it or throw it in the gutter. The window between knowing about a regulatory change and being required to comply with it is the window in which advantage is built. Visit frederickcybersecurity.com to find out how we support medium enterprises in financial services, professional services, and healthcare. It is being revamped. You may go there and not be so happy or skeptical about what I'm talking about, but in 2 to 3 weeks' time, my team are currently working on this. It will be as good as I talk, even better. So the full written edition of this weekend's brief is on LinkedIn at the moment. Everything will be in future on my website. These are some of the things my team is working around the clock to rectify. I've instructed them, and I'm very serious about this with my employees. So subscribe to this channel. Follow. I'm not here, TikTok and Instagram. I'm not seriously there with my with my priceless material. It will come in, but I'm still studying the environment there. So I'm Frederick Wakuliaka. Have a productive weekend. What remains of it? Everything I have is been out on the weekend. It's not carrying into the week. Today, expect the daily business intelligence brief for the day on LinkedIn and Substack. Those who subscribe can subscribe to at Frederick Wakuliaka 4561, so you will know what's going on. You just click on the bell. You will always know when a video is out, so you'll be informed and you will know what to act on. So those who appreciate. Thank you.